World. Thanks for pressing play on another Pay Me No Mind sports and entertainment video. My name is Wood. Get into some bite down boxing talk. Might start with a little bit of NBA since I put my prediction and my thoughts out there on the NBA finals. That's dope that I have a like on the video before even starting. But so let's jump into that. Keeping it boxing, it's a little funny to me that how far do what do you want your reaction to be from the Celtics taking the first game in the 7-game series or best of 7 series, 120 to 108 last night in San Francisco at Chase Bank Arena or Chase Arena. Uh, just like boxing, the scoring for boxing, every round is scored. They're scored. The rounds are scored individually. There is no carryover from the first round to the second round. So if a guy is up 15 punches after the first round, or after one round in general, in the next round he doesn't start 15 punches above the other fighter. It's round to round. This is game by game. So there will be some effects, momentum is a part of it, but I can't go out here and say anything significant based off of one game. Derek White, Smart, and Al Horford, Tease, Pritchard, these guys aren't all going to shoot the same the remaining 6 games or whatever. It doesn't work like that. So, but the general rule of thumb is we really don't have a series until the home team loses a game. So from the outset of this series, we know we're in for something interesting because Golden State dropped the first game at home. Lastly, before I move on to the boxing, there's also a trend in where the team that ends a series early and gets a lot of rest versus the team that goes deeper into their series and maybe has a game 6, a game 7, they're in a tougher series. They usually that team that goes the distance in their series usually comes into the subsequent series more primed. They just got out of a very tense situation. Coming to the game 1 of the next series, the other team has been off away from the game for a couple of days, and that's what we saw play out. Golden State got off to a great start. At least Steph Curry did. Disappeared in the second quarter. But they just got walked down by the Celtics, who just came out of a very competitive, they just had a game 7. So we have something, we got an excellent series ahead of us. Speaking of excellent sporting events, this weekend or tomorrow night, actually at 9 p.m. on ESPN, the George Kambosos Jr. undisputed lightweight fight against the WBC champion, Devin Haney. Damn, I forgot to look. Somebody texted me earlier or responded on a video that Bill Haney has been cleared to get to come into Australia and be at the fight. I didn't get to verify that, and I was just on ESPN.com, but I didn't go on the boxing page. So if that happened, that's great for the fight. And maybe I'll speak on that in a second. But I wanted to talk about was George Kambosos Jr. I didn't want to say it was his secret weapon going into this fight because it's really not a matter of being a secret weapon. But if we look at Team Kambosos, a star player in the whole team is the manager, in my opinion. I can't verify that it's still Peter Khan, but Peter Khan was in play. He was his manager going into the last fight, where he became the unified champion and defeated Teofimo Lopez Jr. Peter Khan was instrumental in that fight in a number of different ways. I won't go all into the videos where I talked about it in depth, but Peter Khan, What I will say today is I believe he should be in place. He just delivered the man the biggest payday of his career in the last fight, and you won that fight. So why wouldn't you retain his services? So I'm assuming he's still in place. Now, what we just learned a couple of weeks ago, and I talked about it on here, maybe 3 weeks ago at this point, Franchon Cruz, the undisputed super middleweight champion, she just won her, she just added the fourth and final belt to become undisputed a few weeks ago in a fight against, a one-sided fight against Ellen Cedarus. And one thing that Franchon Cruz talked about repeatedly in the interviews that I heard of her, one person that she mentioned multiple times was the fact that Peter Kahn is her new manager, and that he got her he orchestrated a world-class training camp for her. And one thing on the fight was noted was her improvement in her stamina. But she praised Peter for coming in and getting her a world-class training camp, which had been something that was often missing from her previous fights. And we saw the fruits of that investment as she took apart Ellen Cedarus. So here, in going to this Kambosos-Haney fight, I see what I believe could be attributed to Peter Kahn in the fact that they went and brought in Toledo, Ohio's Albert Bell into training camp. A couple of days ago, I was wondering to myself, with Australia's COVID situation and their rules or protocol or whatever, and being that it was Australia, where would George Kambosos Jr., where would he get good sparring from to take on an opponent, a skilled boxer like a Devin Haney? And it was right under my nose. I had been watching Albert Bell. I had been seeing his Instagram posts from the moment that he went over to Australia to be in camp and serve as I'm assuming, a chief sparring partner for George Kambosos Jr. So that's excellent. One thing, if I can stop for a second, when you might be perceived as not being the more talented performer in anything in sports, in any sport, when you might be perceived as the lesser talented guy, you always give yourself the best chance to be successful and to perform at your highest with discipline, good planning, and execution. At least you don't go out there and beat yourself. So while here Haney is, the favorite and whatnot, the betting favorite, and many of us may regard him as the more talented fighter, I can say with getting in Albert Bell, who used to be with Top Rank for like 3 or 4 fights. He's a taller fighter. He does fight at super middleweight. He does fight at featherweight or super featherweight, 126 or 130, which is below lightweight. But looking at it from the outside in, looking at it from the outside, outside in, you bring in a guy who can do some stuff that Devin Haney does. There's also the height. Now, Albert Bell, while being 2 divisions below Devin Haney and Kambosos, he may be 2.5 inches taller than Devin Haney, maybe. And we're seeing now in the face-to-face and the stare-downs and whatnot at the press conferences this week, we're seeing how smaller George Kambosos looks compared to Haney, especially at different angles. It's a pretty significant height disparity between them. What's up, Mr. Finkley? What's good, bro? So I think in bringing in an Albert Bell, the obvious, we can be stereotypical if you want to. Albert Bell's a black fighter, a slick boxer, a good boxer, and we could say he's going to be able to replicate everything that Devin Haney does, if we want to be that direct about it. So, like I said, I think that's a great decision by that camp. Oh, And to bring my point home all the way, with Peter Khan, the manager for George Kambosos, with him getting him that big purse for the mandatory fight against Teofimo Lopez, that probably was his best payday, probably by 10 times. But you take that money, and now that you have a huge event like you have now with this undisputed fight, you take that money and you're able to bring in a fighter like Albert Bell, who's ranked in I want to say 2 or maybe 3 of the sanctioning body. He's a world ranked fighter. But you got to pay him, you got to get him over there for 3 or 4 weeks, you got to house him, you got to feed him. All of that eats into your money. So, but when you have the money to invest in your fighter and to invest in fight night and give him the greatest chances to win a fight, that's how you spend your money. And I think that is a function or a benefit of having a dude like Peter Khan on your team, who's looking out for these types of things and taking care of his client. And so again, Peter Khan, in my opinion, would be Team Kambosos' standout player, somebody that's out here really maximizing the career and the chances for success of his client. And and it may bode well for them tomorrow night. It really might. Matchup wise, like I said, I don't think Haney would. George is experienced. The fight with Lopez, being on the road in Madison Square Garden, where I'm pretty sure it was either sold out or very close to it. A lot of adversity was faced in that fight. He was an underdog in that situation. Like I said, he was on the road in Teofimo Lopez's backyard. He's feeling more confident as a champion. We've seen him try to play some of the mind games. Haney has to really take advantage of all his tools. Exactly. Movements and not letting Kempo beat the many punches. Watch and make sure. Exactly. I give him a decent chance. I really do. I'm pulling for the American. I'm pulling for Devin Haney. But again, Devin Haney doesn't have that eraser. So he has to go out here and really, he's got to win 2.5 minutes of 8 or 9 rounds of this fight to give himself the best chance possible. We've seen Haney slow down a little bit in the back end of fights. We've seen him, have some issues or lose focus or have a lapse or whatever late in some fights. He's gonna have to be razor sharp. I do think if he's at his best and Kambosos is at his best, I think Haney can win. But again, there's a lot of this is really not a level playing field. It just isn't. And Kambosos is good enough to where he's scrappy, he's resilient. He's got solid boxing skills. And like I said, being a primary sparring partner of Manny Pacquiao, a talented guy, an all-time great like Pacquiao, it's nothing that Haney's going to do that's going to overwhelm me. So I think we're in for a good fight, maybe even an excellent fight. And if it is true that Bill has been cleared to come into, to get into the country, hopefully he's on a... Yeah, that's my thoughts. Also, Haney has to win championship. Oh, yeah. Body language is important, too. Body language is important. You can't be in here looking like you're surviving for either of the 11th or 12th round. Maybe he can be, maybe Kambosos can hurt him. He dropped Teofimo Lopez, I believe, in the first round of their fight. So it's not an easy night for young Haney. But like I said in yesterday's update, he sounds grounded. He sounds like he's aware of the assignment. It's a great opportunity for him. He's got to be motivated in that regard. And then also, even if Yoel Judah has been organizing and taking care of the last the last 2-3 weeks of preparation, let's not forget that Judah prepared his son Zab for a fight with the best ever in Floyd Mayweather. So it's not like Judah is a bum and hasn't been here. it's not the ideal situation. You would want your longtime chief second to be here overseeing this type of work. But let's not act like Judah doesn't have, and let's not act like Judah didn't groom his son to be an undisputed champion. I thought he was undisputed. I could be wrong in that detail, but yeah, I know he had 2 or 3 of the belts, and I believe it was 140 maybe. And Judah looked excellent for like 4 or 5 fights in his career. I mean, he looked like a pound for pound guy for a handful of fights, and was doing well against Mayweather. So like I said, let's not act like Yoel Judah is a total is a deal breaker or incapable or incompetent. So that's it, man. Let me jump on off of here. Enjoy the fights again if you've been paying attention. And it's other fights this weekend too that I didn't even talk about, with the fight with Roman and Stephen Fulton over on Showtime. Roman has a chance to do so. I think Roman has demonstrated that he can be a better puncher at times. Yeah. Like I said, I can't. I said this the other day. It's not like Judah has a stable of fighters, or he's ever had a stable of fighters that were all doing big things and going places and had won titles. We can't say that. But I just laid out what he was able to accomplish with his son. So, he's demonstrated some ability in that regard. Much like Kenny Porter. Kenny Porter might not have a stable of fighters, but he's done very well with his son in Sean Porter and whatnot. So that's what I was getting at. But like I said, Fulton taking on Daniel Roman, with Fulton not being... with Fulton being more of a technician, a boxer, a very versatile guy, can do it all. Roman isn't necessarily, he's not a bum. Former champion, former unified champion, I think. But he's looked sketchy in a couple of his fights recently. Maybe he was a little tired. This he's been able to, I think he only had 1 or 2 fights. So maybe he got a little time away, got to clear his head, recharge a little bit. But Roman is a very well-rounded fighter as well. I think that's going to be a good... It's not the fight I want to see at junior featherweight, or what is that, super bantamweight, whatever, 120. It's not the fight that I want to see. I want to see Fulton and Aleem, and hopefully we're working our way towards that, unless Roman can upset, that collision. So that fight should be good. And then also I think we got this Cordina kid and Ogawa over on DAZN. Yeah, should be a good fight. Should be a good fight. A good night of fights, like I said. And then Tuesday, well, Ogawa and Cordina. Cordina, this is kind of like Eddie Hearn's last dude, isn't it? I mean, he had Pretty Boy Kelly, and yeah, I want to see that fight. I do. But Eddie Hearn had Pretty Boy Josh Kelly, and then the Cordina kid, Kelly has kind of lost his way a little bit, had some setbacks and questions about, what he can do, what he may be. So he's off the board. But Cordina going for this world title fight, this world championship against Ogawa. And I'm a little familiar with Ogawa from the fight against Fusili, I think is his name. So is Cordina ready? I think he's Welsh. Is he ready, or is it another dude who Eddie Hearn got behind and it's not going to work out for him either? So I want to see what happens in that fight. And then, like I said, Tuesday night, Joe Cordina, 14-0, 8 KOs. Appreciate the official information, bro. I'm doing all of this off the top of my head. But what's it, Kenichi Ogawa? I think you just might have had up there. But I think it's gonna be a good fight. I like Ogawa, and it's kind of a make or break moment for Cordina. Could be that he's trying to do this a little too early, maybe. And then, like I said, Tuesday, because I got to get ready to get off here. Tuesday, I don't know the time on this one, but it's ESPN Plus. It's over in Japan. A super fight. Naoya Inoue, the monster, and the OG with the resurgence at this point in his career, the old man, Nonito Donaire. This man has chased has chased this fight down. We know since he lost the World Boxing Super Series finale against Inoue in a super fight. The thing about Eddie, he gives unprecedented events. That's what we need. Exactly. He like, I don't care if you can, I don't care if you can, it's sink or swim. I'm gonna get you in here. I'm gonna get you the opportunity, and then you go make it happen. Eddie don't mind gambling, but it's blown up in his face a couple of times. But he keeps trying. So I'm with Eddie. I'm with him. But yeah, what I was saying with Donaire. Since the loss in a Fight of the Year fight, I think it was Fight of the Year, he's went out here and knocked out everybody. Worked his way back into this fight. He wanted this fight. Oh, okay, unpredictable. Got you. I thought, got you. Appreciate it. But yeah, he wanted this fight. It was a rugged fight. I mean, Inoue was beating the brakes off of him at times. It was I think it was 1 or 2 knockdowns. He fractured Inoue's orbital bone. Remember his son, because he told his son he was gonna win the Ali Trophy and get the belts. It was a little weird after the fight because he still took pictures with the Ali Trophy and/or the titles that were up for grabs. And some people were like, well, why would you take pictures with a trophy that you didn't win? But Donaire was like, hey, I promised that to my kids. Donaire and the toughie going night. Maybe. It's gonna be a great fight. And it's a chance for, there are still some questions out there about the greatness of Inoue. He mysteriously skipped over super flyweight, where we got Estrada and Chocolatito, so Rungvisai. He didn't make a stop there and mix it up with any of those guys. He went on up to where he is. And what is that? Bantamweight, 118 pounds. So like I said, undisputed tomorrow night. The unified 122-pound fight with Fulton and Roman, Ogawa and Cordino on the zone. Yeah, Donaire's is I can't wait for it. Plus, I like guys that are motivated. I like guys I like fighters who really act like they love boxing, like they love fighting, they love competing. A lot of these guys, I don't get that sense that they really love boxing. I don't. And I think a lot of them don't love the sport because it's so freaking difficult to get the fights that you want to get. And I think some of these guys, once they get to a certain level, they're just like, it's just some shit I do every 2 or 3 months or 6 months or 9 months. I do this shit twice a year and I get on with my life because it's so damn frustrating to get the fights that we want. And we're constantly, criticizing a lot of these guys and bashing a lot of these guys for what they don't do. And they don't have a lot of control in this stuff. Everybody is not Canelo and can sit back and get any fight he wants made, and you can line up your next year and a half of what you want to do. Not everybody can pull that off. So I give these guys a break on the dudes who don't really love the game. But Donaire, he seemed like a fighter through and through. That's just my take on it. Anyway, enjoy all of these fights. Let me get on off of here, finish the rest of my lunch break. I'm doing something Sunday morning, so I'm not gonna come on. I'm not gonna go live and talk about the fight first thing in the morning like I was a few months ago. I got something I'm doing, but enjoy it. Hey, bite down boxing. Don't let them count you out. Ronald Finkley, I appreciate you weighing in, my brother, and co-starring with me with all the official, records and titles and all of that stuff. I appreciate it. I like details, so thank you for that. Enjoy your weekend, sir. Everybody else, I'll holler at you. Pay me no mind. Sports and entertainment, you don't have to be great to start. You have to start to be great. 1.